And all right. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hi, welcome to the Methods Podcast. Today we have the honor of hosting our guest, David Kitchen, also known as Coach Kitch, who is the founder of Edge Leadership and the youngest head strength and conditioning coach in all of Division One history. Did I miss anything?
No, man. I mean, that's the 30,000 foot view. I like to tell people, man, I'm also a brother, a son, and a friend, right? So a
Yeah.
lot of things outside of the coaching and the business world that I do. But yeah, man, that's a great introduction. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you for being here. And yeah, I love that you value those personal relationships. That's great. Okay, so getting straight into it, your journey to success. So could you walk us through your early days, the early days of your career? What were some pivotal moments, some decisions you had to make that affected your path, and how did you push through those challenges?
Yeah, so when I graduated college, I actually had a business degree, and so I started my career in sales. So I was actually doing like IT systems and selling cloud solutions to small and medium businesses, and I just really didn't like it. I really didn't like the corporate environment. I missed athletics, and I wanted to get back to sports, and so I took the opportunity to start coaching high school football. And from there, I was able to figure out that that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to be a coach. And so I wrote a letter to every Division One school on the East Coast and offered to quit my job and come work for free if they gave me an opportunity. And I was fortunate enough that Robert Morris University in Pittsburgh, which is a small Division One school, gave me the opportunity to come out there and work. So I went out there, quit my job, moved to Pittsburgh, lived in a small apartment, and survived on no money. It was all an unpaid free thing that I was doing. And so did that for a couple months and had the opportunity to study for my exam. You have to pass an exam to be a strength and conditioning coach. So I taught myself everything that I needed to know, took the exam, and then from there I ran out of money and I came home to work a football camp at a local university, a local college. And when I was there, I got the opportunity to meet their head strength and conditioning coach, and he offered me an internship there, which was also unpaid, but it was at least close to home, so I could, at least be around my family. So I took the opportunity to do that, and came back, and to pay the bills, I was doing the laundry, and so I was the equipment manager for the athletic department, and I was coaching, and then from there I became the head strength and conditioning coach for the university. So I ended up actually becoming my boss's boss is basically what happened. And I did that at 24 years old. And then I was, like I said, I was the youngest in all of college athletics at that point. Then after about a year, so I was at Bloomsburg for 2 years, 2 seasons. After that, I got the chance to go to UNLV out in Las Vegas and coach their football team and softball team. So I was a strength and conditioning coach out there, and I was the youngest in Division One athletics at that point. So I was 26 when I took that job, and then from there went to Georgia Southern University and was doing men's basketball down there. And then I came back to Susquehanna University, which was my alma mater. So throughout that time, man, there was a lot of pivotal moments. There was a lot of growing moments. There was a lot of opportunities for me to say, I need to go learn, and I need to be around the right people, and I need to be learning from the right people. And if you're not careful, your ego can get in the way, and it can keep you from making the right decisions, right? So for me, it was always about staying grounded, no matter how quote unquote successful I was, right? Even if people on the outside were like, "Hey, you're doing the right things," it was keeping the mindset of, "No, I need to continue to do better." And I need to continue to be around people that are going to push me. And so there was a lot of those moments, and there was also a lot of moments of like having the courage to bet on yourself and being willing to step out and say, this is what's right for me, and I think it's the right move for my career, and so I'm going to take it. And a lot of people questioned me when I left a Division One job for a Division Three job or for a Division Two job, and then when I left a Division Two head job for an assistant job, and then so it wasn't a straight path, but they were
Yeah.
all the right moves for me. And so I think it really comes down to just being willing to bet on yourself, and take big swings and go after what you want, and then learn along the way.
So yeah, I mean, congratulations for sure on your career. When you mentioned that you quit your sales job and took that leap to go into coaching, just that must have taken a lot of grit because you stuck with it after that point. And you mentioned you ran out of money, and that probably, for most people, that can put a lot of stress on them, and a lot of people will fold under that stress. But I think it's really important, and I think you would understand this, especially in leadership, is to turn that stress into positive pressure, and to not let it destroy your passions, but let it push you and guide you to where you need to go. And it's like you said, you kept yourself grounded. You really thought about what is it that is important to me when you went from position to position. You didn't just go and try to make the most money, and that showed in your early career and in your later career. You stuck with what you felt like was right and what was the best thing for you.
Yeah, I try really hard to stay rooted in who I am as a person, right? In my character and in my vision, my mission, and my values. And stay true to that, right? So when you talk about, the pressure, like it's it's exactly what you said. You turn it into a positive pressure, right? Like I'm excited for this adversity because it's going to allow me to try and be the best version of myself. It's going to test me to see if I'm as good as I think I am. It's going to test me to see if I'm as resourceful as I think I am, if I'm as willing to learn as I think I am, right? And if you don't stay grounded in who you are, then that pressure does turn into a negative pressure, and it does start to feel like the world's caving in and everything's going away, but you just can't look at it that way. You have to look at it as, how do I do the best that I can on this journey and get a little bit better each day, and then stack those days on top of each other. And at the end of it all, I'll be where I want to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I love how you said, you realized you didn't love the IT job and you took the steps to get out of it, and you moved on. And for a lot of people, that's like a really tough, they realize they don't like the job they're in, but they can't get out of it. Did you have any like key turning points where you realized, all right, I gotta get out of this and move on?
Yeah, I was at a Christmas party, and it was our office Christmas party. It was my first year there, and I was around everybody, and it was all these older people that had been in sales for a long time, and I was, 21, 22 at the time, 22 I guess I was. Um and I was watching them, having drinks and smoking cigars and enjoying it and this and that. And I just, like, I didn't have the same feeling they did. I wasn't excited about being there. And I remember walking outside, and it was freezing cold out. And I went outside, and I was just like, I don't want to do this. Like, this isn't me. This isn't where I want to be. So I think that was a really pivotal moment for me, was driving home from that event, and just, thinking to myself, like, I got to get clear on what I want, because this isn't it. Right. And even though I was making money, I had the watches, I had the shirt and tie every day. I just bought a new car. Like, I had all the things on the outside that people would be like, oh, he's successful. And but on the inside, I was just bored and I didn't enjoy it. And so I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. So yeah, there was definitely some pivotal moments around that, and just getting clear on, again, who I was and what I wanted to do with my life.
Yeah. So every successful individual has, it's a common occurrence to see they have some sort of method, their key or their path to success. So could you share some key principles or strategies that you believe have been instrumental in your path in your career?
Yeah, habits, man. Habits, developing the right habits, spending time, identifying what are the things in my life that move the needle, what are the things in my life that make things better. And so figuring out what I call them keystone habits, right? Or pillars, things that are in the middle of your life. And it's like, then you build around that, right? So my method is always to start from the inside out. So, like, for instance, every morning I have a non-negotiable morning routine. Like, every morning I wake up, I meditate, I read, I journal, I work out. Like, that is non-negotiable. It doesn't change, because I know when I'm doing those things, I'm the best version of myself throughout the rest of the day. And so I think, starting, when you look at methods, it's about building systems, right? And so it's about creating a life that, um, makes the right answers obvious, and makes the wrong answers harder to do, right? So makes things that aren't good for you, it makes you put more effort into make that bad decision, right? And so I look at it that way, and I think it's also about having systems, man, and being able to evaluate yourself. So one of the things that I do is every 3 months I sit down and I do a full evaluation of my life. And so that encompasses my finances, my relationships, my business, my physical health, my mindset. Like I go through and audit all those things and figure out what's been working for me, what's not working for me, what do I need to change, what do I need to build upon. And then I write down goals based on that, and I hold myself accountable to those things. And I keep them around me at all times, so I'm always trying to keep myself in the mindset of success and in the mindset of, I'm building something that I want to build. Right. So yeah, those are a few of the things that I really hold on to in my life. There's a lot more, but those are what make up the foundation of my method.
Okay, wow. So, Coach Kitch, have you ever heard of Core Four?
Say it again.
Have you ever heard of the Core Four?
I have not.
So you just said all of them, and I think that's really funny. And it's really special when people, do these kinds of things and they're not even aware of it, or maybe you're familiar of Core Four, but you've heard of it in a different way. So Core Four is mind, body, business, and relationships. I believe that's what that is, and I want to make sure I got those all down. And it's basically the way it works is if you are lacking in one of those areas, it's also likely you're lacking in all of the areas. And it's like
Yeah.
if you have a bad habit, it will show in everything you do. And I think that's great that you have built your life around that, your morning routine for the short term, like this is what I can do every day. And then every 3 months, long term, make sure you got everything down. This is what I need to check on. How are my relationships, my mind, my body, and all those things. And I love that. I think that's really great. And another part of that is your habits. You said it's something that you've developed. So with leadership, I've been learning a lot about it recently. I believe I'm pretty lucky to have learned what I have at a young age. And the more I look into it, the more I believe leadership is something that can be learned. And I think there are people that are inherently leaders. They have qualities that allow them to be leaders, but that doesn't mean that they're able to just step into any position and just lead. On your website, there was something I read that really resonated with me. You said one of the most talented kids you've met. He walked into your office and he said, "Oh well, Coach Kitch, everybody has these high expectations of me, and they're telling me to lead, but nobody's taught me how." And that definitely plays into people need mentors to teach them how to lead, but more importantly, it's something that it can be learned. It's not just something that if you can't do it, you'll never be able to. It's something that you develop. It's a skill, and you can refine it. How would you say you've laid out a map for people to learn how to become a leader?
Yeah, I 100% agree with you that it absolutely is a skill. Leadership is a skill that can be learned, and that's why our company motto is built, not born. Right. So we say that all the time to all of our clients. These are things that you can learn over time. And so what we've done to lay out that roadmap is we went and identified through the psychology research, what are the 5 traits of successful leaders? Like, what are the top traits? And they all happen to start with C. So we call them our 5 C's, right? But what it is it starts with character. So it starts with your ability to know who you are, who you're not, what you want in life, and what values you hold tight. Like, what are the things that keep you together at your core? Once you have your character in place, you can start to be consistent, right? So that's the second C, consistency. And once you're consistent, you can be consistent in the way that you deal with situations. So the way that you deal with success, the way that you deal with failure, the way that you deal with adversity, all of those things can be consistent. And when you're trying to lead people, humans operate off of pattern recognition, meaning we like things that are consistent. And so when you are consistent in your character, you can be consistent in the way that you lead people, and that will build trust, right? So consistency is our second C. The third C is commitment. So once you're consistent, you're able to commit to the right things in your life. You're able to commit to the people around you. You're able to commit to the values and the vision of the team or the company that you're working for. And you're also able to commit to the organization that you're a part of, right? And that could be your community, that can be, you know, your ethnicity, whatever community you're representing. And once you're committed, people will feel that and people will understand it. And then from there, you can start to communicate. So now you can start to talk to people and understand, you know, you're going to be an empathetic listener. You're going to be a great observer. You're going to be very cautious and impeccable with your word. You're going to be very aware of your body language. Okay. All of these things, you start to be really intentional about your interactions with people. And then lastly, once you have those 4 C's in place, now you can start to be creative in the way that you lead people. So now you can start to teach people how you want them to behave, and you can start to be creative in the way that you utilize your team's strengths and weaknesses and their different personality traits. So it's a combination of all of those C's, right? Now, say you come into leadership and maybe you don't have all those traits right away. That doesn't mean that you can't learn it. You just have to work your way through the path, right? Because each of those C's has skills attached to it. Okay. So character has a bunch of different skills that fall underneath building your character. Consistency has a bunch of different skills that fall underneath building your consistency. And so it's just figuring out what you're good at naturally. And the way that I phrase it to people is I say, what's something that comes easy to you that's hard for other people? That generally is your superpower. Lean into that. Use that as your basis for your leadership approach, and then grow the rest around it. At the end of the day, you just want to have a well-rounded toolbox so that you can grab whatever tool you need for the situation.
Yeah. And with your 5 C's, um, correct me if I'm wrong, the trend I've noticed is it's definitely things that are in your power, correct? It seems,
Absolutely.
yeah. And I love that. I love when people, you know, take accountability for what is in their control, what can they do to change a situation. I had a conversation with my uncle a bit recently on leadership, and I'm really upset because I can't remember everything, but he did say he similarly characterized leadership with 4 E's. So not 5 C's, but 4 E's. And I only remember 3. Uh, it was, I believe, enable, encourage, empower, and I want to say the 4th one was embody, but I don't believe it was. And it was this cycle. And what I noticed is his approach on leadership was, it was very much like, yes, what can you do? But more importantly, how does it affect other people? So he was thinking about it from the standpoint of, this is what I can do to change everything, but what is important to others? How can I affect the situation by leading them and impacting them? And the 5 C's definitely goes into that. But do you think, I guess what I'm trying to say is, do you think there's more than one way to lead, or is it a consistent, there's only one way?
No, I think it very much so. It depends on the person. I think it depends on what your personality traits are, what your experiences are, what outcome you want to get, what the environment is, what type of people you're dealing with, what you're trying to get them to do. I think leadership is ultimately, to me, it comes down to the ability to influence, and it comes down to being selfishly selfless. Okay. So, what I mean by that is being selfish about the way that you pour into yourself and the way that you develop yourself so that you can be selfless in service of others. Right. And so that you can bring everybody on your team along and you can embody all those traits and things that you want. Right. It's all about modeling the correct behaviors for your team. So I think there's a lot of different variants and variations of leadership. And I think it shows up in different ways. And I think great teams, especially from the athletic sense, but business as well, you know, I think great teams have different types of leaders within their team, right? Like you have people that are kind of out in front and they have the hard conversations and we call them heat seekers, right? Like they're people that are kind of in your face and they're ready to lead right now. You have people who are more laid back and they kind of just they do the work and they lead by example, right? Those are your thermostats. Those are people that set the temperature of the room. You have your guardians of the standard, the people that are looking out for the details and they want to help everybody get better. right? And then you have people that are extensions of the coaching staff, people that are, coaches on the field or coaches on the court. So I think every team needs a combination of all of those. And it just depends on what leadership strengths you have at the moment. And then how can you build up so that you can fill more of those roles? Like if I look back to early in my career, I was a heat seeker. I was the one that was going to have the hard conversation. I was going to hold people accountable. Like that's who I was. But I wasn't very empathetic. And so I didn't relate to people great on a great level all the time. And then as I got older and as I understood more, I think now like I lead with love. I don't lead with the heat seeker mentality. I lead with love now. But that was a tool that I had to build, right? And so I think it can change over time. And I don't think there's any right answer to leadership. I think as long as you're in the people business and you're trying to do the right things with a vision, a mission, and a set of values in place, there's room for different styles of leadership.
Yeah. Similarly, another thing me and my uncle spoke about. I think this is very much a thermostat based off of what you said. He says leaders have to be. He talks about leadership and he uses a noodle. So if you have a noodle and I believe it was a fork, if you try to push a fork or a noodle, a wet noodle, it won't go anywhere. It's just gonna fold on itself and it's not gonna go anywhere. But if you pull the noodle and you just, it's a wet noodle, it'll just drag along the plate. That's like a reference for people, how you're supposed to lead. And it's definitely thermostat, setting the example, being magnetic as a person. Um, Leading by example, yeah. I think people are definitely more affected and able to learn more when they learn from another person. Because people read books, watch videos, but they can only get so much out of that. As opposed to if we just have a conversation and speak, you're gonna get so much more out of that. And I think part of that is mentorship.
Yeah. So listening and learning is one of the most important and critical aspects of your personal and professional journey and growth. So have you had any important role models or mentors throughout your career and journey? And what sort of like lessons have you gotten from them that you can share with
Yeah,
us?
absolutely. I've had mentors at every step of my journey. I've been really, really fortunate, dating back to even like just growing up. So I grew up without a father, so it was just my mom. And so seeing her go to work every single day and work 2, 3 jobs to make sure that me and my brother were taken care of, like that was my first role model. That was my first mentor of showing me how to be a leader by doing the work, right? And then as I got into coaching and through my playing days, my college coaches, my high school coaches were like father figures to me, and they taught me a lot. And my college coach in particular, he taught me the value of disciplining myself, right? And so what he said to me, I was kind of a knucklehead off the field. I made some mistakes, did some stupid things. And, he said, Kitch, at some point you have to learn to be the guy instead of being that guy. And what he was saying to me was that I needed to learn how to be disciplined. I needed to learn how to take responsibility for my own life. I needed to learn how to take responsibility for my choices. And so he was a big mentor for me. And then throughout my coaching career, man, Todd Hammer at Robert Morris, just taught me so much about just being a human, right? And then that leadership is more than just a title. That leadership is about being a human, being able to connect with people. And then Sean Manuel at UNLV, he taught me so much about being willing to push yourself to be uncomfortable, and sitting in the pressure and trying to be the best version of yourself every single day, and not making excuses. Like that was the biggest thing with him, was that he always taught us, like, and me in particular, don't make excuses, just find solutions. Like everything was solution based. Everything was about showing up every single day and not hiding from who you are. Like don't hide from your mistakes, don't hide from your flaws. Show up as yourself every single day and just try and be better than you were yesterday. And that's what it comes down to. And then Coach Bill Perkins at Bloomsburg University, he was another one that was a big mentor for me, and his level of organization. Like he showed me so much about being organized and how important it was to have systems in place when you're trying to build things, right? And so when we were running all these programs and we're coaching 21 different teams. Like, he was just so meticulous and organized with every piece of it. And so, yeah, I wouldn't be where I am without mentors. And even now as a businessman, I'm surrounded by mentors, and I have a business coach that I work with. I have a mindset coach that I work with. I have speaking coaches that I work with, and so I think mentorship is the key. Like, if you want to be great at something, find somebody else who's already good at it, and then listen and ask the questions, and be humble enough to say, hey, can you teach me? That's all it comes down to.
Yeah. I love how you were able to learn so much from football and it kind of turn your situation around. I really respect you for that, for sure. Uh, I feel like there's a lot of times where it can be commonly agreed, especially as an athlete, you learn a lot of lessons from sports. It kind of shapes you as a person when you play sports and you really commit yourself to it because there are things that you can commit to in your life, but there's nothing like sports. And it covers such a wide range. It can teach you teamwork, it can teach you leadership, it can teach you, a new skill, how to play the sport itself. And it's like there's so many things. And it teaches you how to learn even. And like you said, you learned all these lessons through the sport you played, and not only that, but the people you met. Um, and I think a turning point in people's life is, like you said, when they start being the guy as opposed to that guy. And for some people, it might just never click. They might just never realize. And that's really, special that you realize that not only at a young age because of football, but that you realize that at all is amazing. If you had to give any advice to people our age or yourself at our age, what would it be?
Um, I think two things. I think first off, the first piece of advice I would give is take responsibility for everything. Understand that you are the author of your own story, and you can either write yourself in to be the villain, or write yourself in to be the victim, or write yourself in to be the hero. And that's completely up to you and the decisions that you make. And I wish that was something that I knew at an earlier age. And so I think that would be the first thing that I would say, is that you are in complete control of your story. By making different decisions, you can be whatever you want to be. Right. And then the second thing would be take big swings. Like, go out, swing for the fences, man. Like, just put it out there and go for it, because you're never as far away as you think you are. Like, when I first got into business after I stopped coaching, I was so nervous. I was like, man, I don't know this world. This is new to me, and then I just took big swings. I reached out to people. I tried to sell my services. I tried to sell myself. I went and did things. And then, flash forward 3 years and I have a successful business. It's all I do. I'm full time. I'm able to live the life that I want to live, where I want to live, when I want to live it. And so many people get paralyzed by the fear of what if, like, what if it goes wrong? And my question is always, well, what if it goes right? Or what if you don't try? Even worse. Like, so my motto is always take big swings, man. And there's been times where I've struck out and I went back to the dugout looking like an idiot, but there's also been times where I hit a grand slam, right? And so to me, it's bet on yourself, know that you are in charge of your own story, and then take massive swings.
Yeah, and I love that. When I talk to people, especially our age, people that don't necessarily have that guidance, or they might have some passion and they don't know what to do with it. Um, I feel like they get stuck in a mindset of being negative, or not inherently seeing the best for themselves. And it's like the future is so uncertain. You have no idea what's going to happen. Why wouldn't you just assume and hope for the best? Like, you have nothing to lose from just shifting your mindset to, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm going to assume the best situation is going to happen, and I'm going to do everything I can to get there. And I feel like people really lose so much when they don't do that.
And generally, if you assume the best and you do the work, the best will happen. Right? Like more times than not. right? The amount of times where I've taken a big swing at something and I've genuinely put everything I had into it and I put the work in behind it, it's worked out phenomenally. And it doesn't make it less scary. You know, you're never going to be not scared. Like, listen, I was terrified every single time I made a career move. When everybody was telling me I was wrong, everybody was telling me you're not going to make it, you can't do this, you can't do that, and I did these things, I was scared. But at the end of the day, I'm going to bet on myself. I'm going to go bust my butt and I'm going to find out what happens. And maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. But if it doesn't, at least I can live with it knowing I tried. My biggest fear is to be somebody that ends their life with potential. Right. I don't ever want people to say like he had so much potential. Like that scares me. Like I don't want that. I want to find out, what does it look like if I go all in? What does it look like if I give everything I have and I chase that? And then, you know, when we get to the end, we'll count up the chips and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Recently I was actually asked, you know, within my family, what is my biggest fear? And I said the exact same thing. I said, well, I do love to win, and I feel like I have a lot of passions and that I want to succeed in them. So if I had to say anything, my biggest fear would be not realizing my potential, like not reaching my goals. And I think that's so funny that you also said that. What about you? Do you think you'd have any idea?
That's a great mindset to have. I feel like even just me, like honestly, like 5 months ago, I was stuck in that mindset of being okay with, you know, half-assing stuff, you know, and just not realizing my full potential and not going all the way. And, you know, once I realized, like, what am I doing right now? You know, there's so much more that I can be pushing myself towards. And I feel like there's so many people our age that are stuck in that mindset and they don't realize how much further they can push. So I think that's a great mindset to have.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the more you guys do stuff, the better you get. Like you keep, everything's an experience. Everything gets tools added to your toolbox. Whether you win, you lose, like there's no such thing as a loss, right? This is one of my things. I don't ever lose. I just learn. I win
Yeah.
or I learn. That's it. Right. And so, you know, the more action you take, the more massive action you take, the more massive opportunities you get. You know, so it's always just to take big swings, man, and just go after it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. Learning is it's such an important skill that a lot of the time is underrated. But for me, the most influential people in my life that talk to, I noticed that they always have a mindset of how can I learn from this situation? It doesn't matter if it's going good, if things are going good or bad. It's just they stay very humble and they don't take a position of, okay, well, even though I have all this experience, I'm successful. I know more than you. I'm better than you. They never do that. They always put themselves in a position of, I understand I'm an outsider to this situation. I'm going to enter it and try to affect it in the best way I can, but I'm really just trying to learn and help. That's all that matters. If I learn from this and I can help the situation get better, then I've done my job as a leader and as a human as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the piece that you said in there that's really important is that even though they're successful, they're still able to say, what can I learn from this situation? I just posted about this the other day on my social media that success has buried just as many people as failure, because you get to a certain point where you start to become successful and you start to believe your own hype, right? And then all of a sudden you stop learning and you stop asking questions and you start looking at it. And so if I win, if I do something that works out really well, I analyze that just as hard as if I lost. I want to know, why did I win? What were the things that led to that? What are the things that I can learn from for next time that can make it an even bigger win? Right? What are things that I need to take from that that can get me ready for the next level? Right? Because they say there's that quote: "What got you crowned is what will get you killed." Right? So if you're not consistently leveling up when you get to each new chapter of your life, you're going to leave a lot of things on the table, because you lose the ability to learn and you lose the ability to surround yourself with the right people. And that's why I keep my circle of friends, man. I joke about it. We call it the power circle. Like we call each other out, we ask each other hard questions, and we analyze our wins and losses together. You know, if I have a loss in business, first people I talk to are my close friends. And I'm like, hey man, here's what happened. This deal fell through, XYZ, whatever. And they help me see it from a different perspective. But I have to be humble enough to say, hey, here's why, right? Or if I win, I go to them and I say, hey, this good thing happened. let's do a review of this. Let's talk about it, you know, and they do the same with me. So that's a big piece of it. You have to remain humble, man. Success will
Yeah.
bury you just as fast as failure.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm kind of curious. So you said earlier you have your habit of every 3 months you check up on your life every day. You have your routine that cannot be missed. Um, I'm curious as to if when you say you have your power circle, your friend, do they have similar habits and mindsets? Do they also check up on their lives like every 3 months? Is that something you guys do together? Could you tell us about that?
We don't do it together, but we definitely all do it. And so like my closest friends are all kind of quote unquote high performers, right? So I'll just give you like an example, the like 3 or 4 closest to me. So one of them is my business partner. One of my other best friends, I was just the best man in his wedding. He's a homicide detective. And so he's a high performing, you know, police officer. One of my other best friends is in the special forces. One of my other ones is a firefighter in one of the biggest cities in America, right? So we're all kind of guys that are chasing, trying to be the best versions of ourselves. And so our habits are very closely aligned. Like if we hang out, we're working out. Like we're going to work out together. We're all going to get to the gym. We're going to get a workout in. You know, when we're talking business, we're talking politics, we're talking life, we're talking, you know, habits, we're talking books. Like the amount of times that I've opened my mailbox and had a book from one of my friends that I didn't ask for, you know, is cool. And so, you know, that's kind of where we're at. Like we're all starting. I have my business, but like they have their own little side businesses going. And so, yeah, we all have similar habits, but we don't necessarily have the same like character traits, right? So what I mean by that is I like to surround myself with people who challenge me in places that maybe I struggle, right? And so I'll surround myself with people who are going to ask me hard questions, people that are going to challenge me on things. You know, and so like one of my friends is extremely disciplined in the gym, extremely disciplined, never misses a workout, never misses a meal, any of that stuff. And so he challenges me to be the best version of myself physically. Like he won't let me off the hook with those things. You know, I have another friend who's a great husband, and that's what he does. He's a great husband and a great father. That's something that I got to work on. I got to work on being a better relationship person because I get so tunnel visioned on my work that sometimes my relationships struggle, right? So I stay around him because he challenges me to be a better friend, a better brother, you know, all those things. And so I think it's important to surround yourself with people that you look at and you can say right off the top of your head what you admire about that person. Like very quickly, like I can look at my friends and I can say, these are the values that this person brings to the table that I want to get better at. Right. And they can do the same with me. And so we have, like I said, we have similar habits, but I think the mindset is definitely the same, but the actual like action of it is executed differently for each of us.
Yeah, I think surrounding yourself with, you know, the right friends that'll push you is like extremely important. And when did you sort of realize, you know, that you needed to do that? Has that been something that you've had for a long time, or is it sort of more recently you kind of realized this?
It changed a little bit. So when I got into coaching, when you get to a certain level in coaching, you have to be kind of careful about who you surround yourself with. Because you got to make sure that you have people that are on your team, right? You got to make sure that you have people that are going to have your back, people that aren't going to take advantage of you, people that aren't going to take advantage of your situation or what you may what doors you may open for them, right? And so not that I was famous by any means because I wasn't, but you know, when you get to that level, you guys see it on Sports Center, you see it on ESPN, like coaches get ruined by a cell phone videotape or a leaked text message or anything like that. So I started to get really careful about the people that I spent my time with. Not because I was doing anything stupid, but just because I knew something could be taken out of context and it could cost me a lot. Right. And so I got really careful about that. And then as I got deeper into self-development and got deeper into, you know, getting clear on what I wanted in life, I was like, no, I need people that are built for the climb. Right. And so when I say built for the climb, it takes a lot to get to that mountaintop. It takes a lot to get to that peak, and not everybody is built for it. Like some people get altitude sickness, and I need people that can go up there to that rare air with me. And so I started to get really careful. And so what I did is I started to put people in levels within my life. So I have 3 levels of people that I keep around me. I have people on the outside that are connections. So these are guys I might golf with. You know, I might go have dinner with them once in a while. There might be like business connections, but they're not. I like them. You know, I like them. They're good people, but they're not my circle, right? And so I have those people. I limit the amount of access and the amount of influence that those people have on me. I don't cut people off, but I'll move you out to the outer fringe of the circle, right? And so those people that are in that layer, they can still have access on to me, but only on my terms, right? So if you might call me on a Tuesday, and I might not call you back until Thursday. Like I'll call you back when I got time. And then when you move inward to the second layer, these are people that I call teammates. These are people that are on my side. These are people that have similar visions, similar values. I love these people, right? So I like the people on the outside. I love the people on the second level. This is like my family, you know, people that are similar to me, people that are chasing similar things. And then on the inside, that middle, that little ring in the middle, like picture a bullseye, that's my tribe. Like that's my power circle. Those are the guys that I like, love, and trust. Those are the people that are absolutely in my corner, and I'm going to war with them. And to me, the prerequisite is I want to see how people respond in different situations, right? So when I'm trying to figure out where is somebody going to be with me, on what level are they going to make it to, I watch how people act, man. I watch how you treat the waiter at dinner. I watch how you are when you have a couple drinks in you. I watch how you handle things when things don't go well with your business or with your relationships. How are you during adversity? And then I want to see how are you when you win too. That's why I like playing sports with people. I like golf and I like basketball. I like things like that. I want to see, how do you handle success? How do you handle it if you come out and you beat somebody at something? Are you gracious or are you arrogant? You know, how do you handle it when your back's against the wall? Like I watch all those things because I want to know, you know, what kind of person you are. I want to know if you can be in that inner circle, because the people that are in the middle, you got to be living in the arena. And that means you got to be trying to be the best version of yourself every single day. And so if you're not doing that stuff, you'll never make it to that inner circle for me.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. I agree with absolutely everything you said, and I think that's important for people to have their inner circle. I've never thought about it that way, but I do like the way you've set that up, having 3 layers. I like that you've given people tiers, and you assess them on, how far are you going to make it, like what habits are you, am I picking up, like what do I see you do. I love that. And I think that's definitely a skill people could apply to their life more often. There are, because there's definitely people that have trouble letting anybody in, and then there's also people who trust way too easily and just let anybody in. And that obviously, both of those can become a problem because you won't know who to trust or you won't have anybody to trust. And that's a huge thing because all relationships are built on trust. It's like how much, like you said, you will go to war with your tribe. You trust them. You trust them, I'm sure, with almost most of the things in your life. And that's really important. And it doesn't matter if it's a coach, a parent, a sibling, it doesn't, any of it. It's all built on trust. Um, and I think with a lot of the things you learn from leadership can also be applied to manhood, and growing into yourself, or even adulthood. Sorry, adulthood. When you grow into yourself, you need to become self-actualized. You got to become more than yourself. You can't just think about what am I going to benefit from this? How is this only affecting me? You need to think about the other people in your life. How, like you said, and it kind of goes into that circle. If you only care about you, that will be reflected through your behavior, and people are not going to want to trust you if that's the kind of person you are. And I think that's really important that people kind of use that to assess who they're letting in, but also assess how not necessarily how do they get in to benefit, but what are you trying to represent with your actions? Like who are you? And what do you want to represent? Because that will also determine what circles you're going to enter, like which people are going to trust you. And that, could be your teammates, your school friends. For us, it could be really anybody. You won't know unless you represent yourself thoroughly and properly.
Yeah, and I always I want to be the kind of guy that when I'm not in a room and there's an opportunity, my friends are like, "Oh, dude, you got to meet Kitch. Like he would be a great person for you to talk to." Like those are the kind of friends that I want. Like people that will say my name in a room full of opportunity, even though I'm not there, right? And I'm big on, if I eat, we all eat, right? So like if I do so, if there's an opportunity and there's an opportunity for me to bring people from my tribe in on it, I'm going to bring them in because I trust them. And I know that they represent the same things that I represent. And so if they bring a business opportunity to me, I'm more likely to entertain it. Like if somebody from one of those outside tiers calls me, says, hey, I got this opportunity, whatever, like I'm skeptical. I want to wait and see. I really have to flesh it out. I really have to go through the diligence and figure out what it is. If somebody from my inner tribe calls me and says, hey, I got an opportunity, I'm not going to say yes right away, but I'm already pretty much going to say yes. Like I'm in, like, let's talk about it. Let's see what it looks like, because I trust you, because I know who you are. Right. And I know that you're not just trying to eat, you're trying to feed the people around you. Right. And to me, that's really important, because money can make people greedy, and opportunity and success and fame and status can make people very greedy. And the more of it you get, the more it reveals who you really are. And so I want to make sure that I'm around people that, instead of saying I get 100% of this, I want people that are going to say, hey, I got 100%, but I can give 20% over here, I can give 20% over here, and we're going to make this overall thing bigger, right? So we're all gonna win. Like that's what I love. Like I said, we call it the power circle, man. And one of us wins, we all try and win. Like I want that type of situation around me. And again, it's not about me. Like I live my life, as much as I'm chasing the best version of me, my vision in life is to leave a legacy for my family to be proud of. It's not about me. I'm not trying to be, the best version of me just to say I was the best version of me. I'm trying to be the best version of me so that I can build something that my family can be proud of, and something where my grandkids and their grandkids can look at a picture, or hopefully a building, and say, that's our family. Like that's our legacy. That's who we are. That's what I want.
Yeah.
And so, I want to be surrounded by people that have that same mindset and that same understanding. But I think part of it goes back to the thing that you were talking about, which is getting out of the scarcity mindset and getting into a mindset of what's called abundance, right? So some people, like, you'll feel like, oh, if I put somebody else on, if I help somebody else, then that means there's less for me. Like, no, there's not. Abundance is, I'll help you, you'll help somebody else, you'll help somebody else, and that'll come back to me eventually. Maybe 6 months from now, maybe a year from now, it doesn't matter. Like, whatever, if it's the right fit for somebody else, I'm going to help you go take advantage of that opportunity. That doesn't take away from me at all. I want my friends to be more successful than I am. I want the people that work for me. Like I always told people when they came and coached with me, like, I don't want you to be me. I want you to be better than me. Like, I don't want you to be excited that I was the youngest head strength coach in the country. I want you to now set that as your goal, to you go be the youngest and be better than I was. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, definitely. You want to go? So it's definitely about building something that's more than yourself, and leaving that legacy. I really liked how you put an emphasis on that. What do you want to say?
I think I'm gonna take it back a little bit. I really loved how you said like you pay attention to how this person treats the waiter at dinner. Those small little things are really important, because from that starts a pattern. You can start to see the good or bad from what they're doing. It's those little things that really matter. Like as we've recently started to try to better ourselves and things, we've had friends that don't really want to follow that path, and they'll ask us to hang out, and we'll be like, like we got a little work to do right now, so just can't right now. And they'll just say, Like, nah, just forget about that. Just forget about that. Let's go hang out. Let's go do this. And it's like, bro, like you should be there for me. You should, be okay with me taking some time and not hanging out with you doing something stupid to better myself. Put some work in. So I think those little things really start to add up, and you can see the truth about
Yeah.
something.
And you'll start to see, like, as you continue to do this stuff, the more grounded you get in it, and the more you're clear about who you are and what's important to you, the more people will respect it, right? And the more people will say, hey, you know what? Okay. Because a lot of times when you're trying to level up in life and people don't like it, or people are resistant to it, it's because it's reflecting on them. Right. So it's because if you're getting better, then it says that I'm staying the same. Right. So they don't want you to grow. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying that everybody's like this, but there's people in your life that are going to feel that way. And there's still people like that sometimes in my life, where I'll go from one season to another season in life where I level up tremendously. And it's like, oh, you liked me better when I was that version because it made you feel better about you. That has
Yeah.
nothing to do with me, And so you have to be comfortable in that. And one of the tough things about becoming a high performer in life is getting okay with the reality that you're oftentimes going to be misunderstood. There's going to be people, like, the rarer you are, the rarer your company becomes. Right? Does that make sense? So, like,
Yeah.
it's tough, because, like I said before, some people get altitude sickness. Like, not everybody is built for the climb, and so you have to try and weed that stuff out. And it doesn't mean that they always won't be. There's plenty of people in my life that we went our separate ways, and then they realized it down the road and they figured it out. And now they've come back into my life, and it's like, hey, I see what you were saying back then. Like, I wish I would have figured it out 5 years ago or 8 years ago or 10 years ago when you did. And it's like, I'm glad, I'm happy for you, man. So when I look at those relationships, and especially for you guys at your age, when you look at those relationships, it's important to say to yourself, I still want to see that person eat, just not at my table right now.
Mhm.
That's all it comes down to, right? It's, hey, I still want the best for you. It's just not right now. Right now I got to go this way. And when I
Yeah.
get to the top, I'll throw a rope down and I'll help you, but I can't slow down, because you slowing down is selfish. That's keeping you from being able to pour into other people and make an impact in the world, right?
Yeah.
So it doesn't help anybody.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's definitely a common thing that we come across is, or not even us and our friends, people we've spoken to. It's just you start to do better, or you want better for yourself, and then there will be people that will just, it makes them uncomfortable because they're thinking, well, if you're doing this thing, why can't I do it? Or why am I not doing something that's greater than me? Like, they'll start to, it's not jealousy, but more self-resentment, because they want to be the one they don't have a problem with what you're doing. They just don't like that it's not them who's doing it. They don't like that you're doing it. And
Correct.
that definitely goes into the relationships, like you said earlier. I think that's so important with the abundance of relationships. I think, like you said, people get greedy with money, and there's really two things. There's probably more, but for me, that I notice, there's two things that exceed the value of money, and that is relationships and knowledge. And if you can build those two things and you master that, it doesn't matter what you do. If you're good at that, money will follow. And that's not even important, because at the end of the day, what is important, like you said, is the abundance, the relationships, the gratefulness, the taking a step back and looking at, like, what am I building? What is my purpose? How does this affect other people positively? And that's really what matters. And I think that's kind of what you're doing with Edge Leadership. You're building that. You want to affect these teams, these kids, these organizations positively, and it's like, that's just true. It's what happens. Money will follow with that, and it's, you're not focusing on that. You're focusing on your impact.
Right. Exactly. My bank account directly reflects the amount of impact that I have.
Yeah,
That's it. The more I impact, the bigger my bank account is. It's
yeah,
just a scoreboard. It's irrelevant. Like since I've been doing this, I live in the same house, I drive the same truck, I wear the same cars or the same clothes. Like, nothing changes. It, to me, the money is a byproduct of doing a great job. If you solve a problem and you do a great job and you impact people and you do it the right way, then the money will follow. And all the money really represents to me is freedom. It just represents the ability to do more of what I love with the people that I love doing it with when I feel like doing it. I no longer have to do things out of obligation. That's the only thing that the money does for me, right? So I could care less. You'll never ever see me driving a sports car, doing that stuff. And I say that all the time, even in my social media content. Like, I'm not a guru. You're not going to catch me on a yacht. You're not going to catch me on a private jet. It's just not who I am. It is about the impact for me, because ultimately, like you said, those things are outweigh the money every day of the week. Now,
Yeah.
do I want to be financially free one day and be able to completely say I work because I want to work? Yeah, absolutely. But I only want that as a reflection of the amount of impact that I've had. I don't want that just because.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love that you don't want to flaunt. That's definitely really important. Not because even if you do things and even if you do succeed, but you're doing it for the purpose of, oh, I just want to show off, it's not sustainable. That's not real motivation. It's not gonna take you anywhere.
No,
You have, oh, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I do have one last question. What is your favorite football team?
It's college. I'm a Penn State fan, and then NFL. I am an Eagles fan.
Okay, that was expected. I just wanted to check.
I'm a Pennsylvania guy through and through.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And since the football season's going on, I love Jalen Hurts. I can't lie; he's probably my favorite quarterback. Then Tua, but I'd expect you to be an Eagles guy.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you for being on the show, Mr. Kitchen, or Coach Kitch. We are so happy to have spoke to you. We really did learn a lot about leadership today, and definitely trust and building those relationships. This was the Methods Podcast, and get ready for the next episode. We're just going to keep going and keep getting better. Okay. All right. I'm just going to stop the recording.